Since the Object 430 Variant 2 is kind of a rare tank to see, and a lot of people ask about it, here's a video showing a fairly standard game and a couple of points about things that are good about it and things that aren't quite so good. Platooned up with Rothmog's E75 on Abbey, so standard sort of strat for me is to head west. East is kind of important to hold, but I prefer not to do it myself. It's basically a death valley. The best thing to hold that is heavily armoured TDs or heavily armoured heavy tanks like a Mouse or an E100. Mediums by far are best off in the west or mid, and this thing doesn't do mid very well. Immediately we can see that the enemy team has a KV-2 and a VK3002M who platoon with an AMX-12T. Brilliant platoon structure right there. .55 kilometers an hour. This is a pretty quick tank. It's about as agile as the T-54. It handles very much like one, including the gun handling, as you can probably see. So first things first, I try and position myself so I can quickly duck down into this little depression here if something appears, and I wait a minute for my team to catch up. I've got a T-69 and a T-44 in support. AT-15 is spotted all the way back in the enemy base by our 59-16, but as yet nothing up here. Take a big risk here and decide to push up further. This exposes my left to tanks in mid, or which they don't have, of course, or their base, and also exposes me to this guy. Oh, fuck. His first shot bounced off my 248 turret front, 248mm armor turret front. And his second lights me on fire. This is why I always carry automatic extinguishers. Now I'm trying to position myself to side spray. This thing doesn't have very thick side armor. I think it's about 80mm, but it's sufficient to side spray. It's more effective than popping out your entire front around the corner, put it that way. And with an IS-6 there and an FCM, they will actually have trouble with it. Rothmog comes up to support me, as do some more of my teammates. Unfortunately, it doesn't give me a lot of room to work with, so I have to kind of try and avoid blocking them too much here and avoid getting blocked myself. I lost my gun, I'm having a repair kit now, which is unfortunate. I accidentally blocked our T-44 out. It's a bit of a classic fight. IS-6 is firing HE, meanwhile the FCM burns to death. So this is not really ideal. If I was in my T-54 or any regular medium tank, this wouldn't be so bad because I could just pop around the corner, but because I have this rear turret, and because it only traverses across a 180-degree arc, I have to really put in some serious effort to get a position where I can fire without just simply driving the entire front of my tank around the corner, which will probably get me set on fire again. Eventually I give up and just drive out anyway, since our T-44 is distracting these two. Take another hit there from the AT-15. And another, but my priority right now is trying to work the IS-6 down while he's not paying attention. Luckily our T-44 survives, as do I, and so he rolls up ahead of me. Straight into a which has the 150, the 150, sorry, and one shot hit. My shot whizzes straight over the top of him. I didn't have gun depression there, but my second goes in. Now I know he's going to be reloaded soon, so I just wait for my teammates. Try and use the T-44's wreck as cover. I realise here I'm on a slight slope, but he might still be able to hit my cupolas, so I wiggle my turret a bit, just to try and make it a little bit more difficult for him, and try and fish him straight over the top, which allows me to roll out and finish him off after the IS finally puts a shot in. Now the IS could have taken a hit, but of course puppies hate to take hits. Here I do something very stupid and roll out in front of a loaded ISU, hoping I could beat his gun. Not going to beat the L10. So Now it's down to my teammates, but we've pretty much got this dealt with. There are 2 enemy tanks being useless on the east flank, and we've got 2 pretty strong tank destroyers rolling down to deal with them. And one of their tanks has separated himself out in the middle. And here I make a new friend, this T-44. He played alright, he certainly helped me out a lot there. Even though he did die to the Rheinmetall as he went around the corner, he actually provided me cover, which kept me alive. So it was a good move on his part, and he certainly helped clean up those tanks during that little clusterfuck in the west. And somebody is Steam messaging me again. Rothmog shifted to mid just to try and make sure this T-69 didn't go for our cap or get flank shots on everybody, but at this stage it's pretty much over. Finishes him off. The ISU gets dealt with by our ISU, and now it's just the last tank left, a Tiger II, who was last seen somewhere in the east and has now moved to the base ground. It was pretty chaotic there in the west of the map, and it shows you just how hard it can be to adequately position this thing unless you've got a lot of open space to work with. If you've got teammates surrounding you, it might be better to just go somewhere else, because I mean, you could risk rolling around the corner front first, but you saw what happened when that 5100, or sorry, 5120 hit me. I just lit up like a Christmas tree. This thing's frontal engine is behind a lot of armor. 120 upper and lower plates is quite strong, but if it does get penned, it's going to catch fire pretty often. Or even if it doesn't catch fire, engine damage is not something you want to live with, especially in a medium tank. So probably I should have repositioned there, found somewhere else to go on the map, but the unfortunate thing about Abbey is it's so it's just so constrained. It's all paths. There's really no open space until you get into one team or the other side of the map, where you've got that little the plateau the cap's on and the little field in front of it. The rest of the map is all just alleyways and canyons, which is not very fun in a rear turret and medium. But for all the disadvantages of a rear turret, you know, and a frontal engine, the tank is quite good. It has quite strong frontal armor for a tier 9 medium, for a medium period really. Has decent gun handling, very good DPM. I mean, it's essentially the T-54's gun in a stronger turret on a stronger chassis, just that it's arse backwards and the engine's in the front, the turret's at the back. Typically, when it comes to closer range engagements or when I'm fighting in the open, I don't find the 180 degree traverse to be a limit. Similar to the 416, which has I think 170, it's not really a thing you notice because it traverses so quickly on its tracks. You just turn your entire tank, it doesn't matter. The only place where it really becomes a hassle is if you get boxed in like I was there, or if you're in a narrow city and you can't really turn very much. So those are situations where you really want to find somewhere else to go. But otherwise, it's quite a strong tank. It's a very easy stock grind, which is probably the best thing about this tank, is its stock gun is actually its best gun. It has a choice between this gun, the name of which I can't recall. I think it's the M63 or something. But it has a choice between this gun or the D54. So this gun is basically equivalent to the T54's D10 T2S, and the D54 is obviously shared between the two. Like the T54, this is the better gun. It handles better, it has slightly worse AP pen, but the same good heat pen. The better gun handling is what sells it, honestly, and the ability to put that DPM really to use. So you start out with your best gun. The stock turret and the upgraded turret don't have a lot of difference between them. The armor scheme is exactly the same. And I mean, the stock engine, stock tracks, they might make a bit of a difference, but it's not too bad. And I think, I can't recall for certain, but I think you can fully upgrade this thing pretty much without the tracks. So it's a very easy grind, which kind of makes up for the massive stretch you have to do between this and the Object 430 at tier 10. But all in all, it's not a bad medium line. I quite enjoyed it, and certainly worth playing. It does have a distinct playstyle. There are a lot of tanks in this line that just are straight up weird, like this or the 416, but it ends in a very, very solid tier 10 medium, and it's a really fun line for people who are capable of handling a bit of strangeness.